addressing student issues, disabilities, counseling, and healthcare. And we have representatives from these three areas sitting right in front of you. I put their names on there so that you know exactly who we're talking about. We have Jessica Leto here from Health Services, Christine Asidao, I hope I got it right this time, from Student Health and Counseling, and Doug Lawson from Disability Services.
My question is disability is test related, some students get extra time and stuff. But I have a student who is one of the students, but like lately he's becoming a little more, not really disruptive, but like he just doesn't know like when not to stand up in class and come to the front. Like if he had to leave early, he was doing end of class stuff at like the end of his class. So who do we talk to? Is it a health issue or which one?
I guess you can talk to me, because we accommodate students the best we can, but we also have access to the medical record. So any questions you have about student behavior, and you're not sure about how to work with that student, you contact me.
Okay.
And from there, we can refer you to other resources, but always start with disability issues. That's the best way to talk about it.
Right, so, but you're not related to testing people, right? Or is it all
We are the testing people.
At some point, I had an issue in my class, and in a conversation after class, a freshman told me that she was having problems sleeping, and just apparently couldn't handle it. So we talked, and I had what I thought was a very meaningful conversation with the student, and I referred her to the counselor center. Said counseling center has lots of experience with these kinds of things on our campus, so they're going to be really well prepared to help you with those issues. And so she promised she was going to go to the counseling services center. That was the last time I ever saw the student. What's the best approach if you hear from a student that they have these anxiety or stress problems? Should we take them by the hand and take them over to counseling services?
It really depends on the situation. For some of our students, there is a lot of anxiety in terms of actually seeking out services, and so having someone walk them over can be really beneficial, because sometimes, especially if they're in a really acute state of distress or crisis, it might be really difficult to communicate. And so if they have talked with you, you could at least give a little bit of background information. For some of our other students, part of your role is really planting a seed. Okay, because there are different stages in terms of motivation for change. We have some students who are ready, they want, they just need the information in terms of where to go, and they're going to do it. We have some other students who are just really ambivalent, and they're not really sure if they want to go outside of, the friendship base or the family base to actually seek out help. But by you just providing some referral information, it could be something as simple as giving them our website information. So if they want to look at it on their own time, they're not feeling like the pressure to do it now, they can do it. And we have a lot of students like that. Someone talked to me a few months ago. I just wasn't really ready at the time, but now I'm really feeling motivated. I want to do something different. And that's totally fine. For others, it's, they're sitting in your office, and maybe you just want to call over to the counseling center and just, let them talk with someone about, well, should they come in, should they not? That's fine as well. And so really, it's just a range. What I'm asking all of you to do is just be really good, strong mental health allies. And being a strong mental health ally means being compassionate, making sure you're really listening to the student in front of you. One thing I like to tell faculty is that just make sure you're not on the computer, when you're talking to someone who's in distress, like make sure you're really paying attention to them.
Kind of similar situation. I have a girl in my class, and she's handicapped, she's in a wheelchair, but she hesitates to come to class 5 minutes late, and then misses quizzes and things of that nature, and she seems very depressed, or in this class quite often, and I asked her a couple times, time. I feel like I should extend more out to her, but then I don't want to think that her physical handicap is one of the things. I don't think I struggle with how to do that.
But you also talked about mood, that the mood seems to be low. And so if you wanted to in the future, you can talk to her, but keep it really behavioral. Really talk about the concrete observations you've made and that you're concerned you want her to do really well in your class, and it seems like there's some barriers that are going on.
I had to do kind of domestic violence situation, and what are the resources that I could refer her to?
So when you talk about domestic violence is a very complex issue. There are many different layers in terms of how to approach it, because there is a legal aspect, there is the criminal aspect of it, there's mental health needs, if there is the need to be outside of the place of residence, you're talking about shelter, there's so many pieces there. Currently, I've just been asked to be part of a committee that's really going to look at domestic violence, sexual abuse, just interpersonal violence in general as well. And it's very new. So I'm sorry I don't have all the answers for you, but just know that's something that's in the works right now.
We have on our website, one of the last pages, a whole list of resources ranging from everything. And I believe there is a domestic violence. So if someone ever comes to you and says, I just don't even know where to start, you can go on our website with them or refer them to our website. And as I said, I think it's very last pages. It has a whole list of these resources and legal, domestic violence, all that stuff is on there. So it's a place to start too, especially if they're in your office and they really want something now. What do I do? You can go to our website.
I can see the influence for government that you provide something that comes to the influence around humans. But on the other hand, I wonder if there are any kind of legal liability, things like that you potentially incur, because we are not trained to come to our students anyway.
I expect for all of us to be part of a strong community, right? A community of caring when it comes to our students. Because a lot of our students, they're not going to seek out therapy for the first thing or go to the disabilities office for the first thing. They may go to all of you. And so if all of us can be compassionate and listen to where our student is coming from, that's great. I am not expecting people to be therapists. Okay? That is not your job. Okay? You should be doing that anyways because that's kind of legal. So don't do that. And so it's just know when to reach out, because again, you can call us and just let us know about the specific situation that you're going through with a student, and we can walk you through some steps. In terms of our office, I have 4 full-time therapists for a student population of between 11,000 and 12,000. That is half the size that we should be at nationally when we look at standards. And so we are definitely understaffed, and we are lacking in space. Now, in terms of delay, that really depends because it's very subjective for our students. A delay could be, I want to be seen right now, right here, and you can't see me until tomorrow. That may be a delay for a student. If someone is in severe crisis, they're feeling really suicidal, maybe, they're feeling, they're having a panic attack. If someone is coming into our office and is in that state, they need to see someone that day, we will try and pull someone out of session.
And there's generally no big wait for us. They make all their appointments online. And what I usually will say to students if I'm talking to a group of them is we're very small. I don't know if any of you have been down there and walk by and see us, but we're very small. There's myself and 3 other nurses and some other help. We're small. And we're limited. We don't have a lab, we don't have a pharmacy, we don't have x-ray machines. So what I tell the students is, if you have a concern and you're not really sure where to begin with us. And we can either send you in the right direction, maybe down to counseling, or referral to a physician. Or maybe we can, what you thought was something really terrible, turns out not to be that terrible, and we can tell you that and fix it for you.
I have a question that may be partially for you. So type
hypothetically, the student collapses in class. How does the faculty get help for the student?
And something that we work very hard to get out there because it is a huge safety thing. And seconds count in a medical emergency. We are not an emergency room. But I said we're very, very small. Closest thing we have to any kind of emergency equipment is an EpiPen and an oxygen tank. And that's it. No crash cart, no EKG machines, nothing. We are not the emergency room for the campus. In the event of emergency, where you just are either not sure what's happened, you know something terrible is happening, whatever, you pick up the phone and call public safety, 5511. That's our 911 version. And you call that number and you will be hooked up immediately to public safety. They will call the ambulance if it's needed. They will come on over, and that's in the evening too. They're here 24/7. So any evening class when offices are closed, that's your resource, 5511. So now if the student sort of feels a little dizzy, kind of passes out, gets up and says, oh no, I'm really fine, but I just don't know what happened, they can come down and see us. You can say, I need an ambulance in room, Leclerc Hall, blah, 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 and they will call. They're not, they will call. Everybody's going to err on the side of getting the help that is possibly needed right away as fast as possible. They will call the ambulance, then an officer will come up to your site, get the information, kind of be there, do crowd control, whatever they do. And then usually what happens is the fire department comes first. That's what the city does. So the fire department guys will come first. They're not the real paramedics, but they're there to kind of do a little bit of triage, and they'll kind of get things settled in, and then the paramedics will come a few minutes later.
If a student is presenting distress, of course, we want to go through health services or disability services. But sometimes what I've noticed with some of my students, I think they're all on one term, was that there were other things going on, and it was almost like behavioral concerns team had to intervene first. And so I'm wondering, like, after the behavioral concerns team intervenes, is there a way that they, whatever the situation is, communicated back to the student health services?
Yeah, so I'm actually on the behavioral concerns team here, so I work very closely with Sharon Evans, who is the Director of Student Rights and Responsibilities. We also have a police officer on the team, and we also work with Veronica Rodriguez, who really works with student boards. And so if a report is made, through the BCT report form, we will receive it, and our job really is to do investigation to find out what's going on, and possibly interviewing different people. I'm in a very different role when I'm in the BCT part of my work. If it's someone who might really benefit from counseling services, then I would recommend that, right? Now, if it's someone who's already doing work through counseling services, there is no release. I can't confirm nor deny, but what I can do is really be that listener, take some information, talk specifically with the therapist, let them know, hey, this person just appeared on the BCT radar. You might just want to be aware.
Let's say a faculty member recognizes that a student coughs a lot in class. The faculty member sort of is beginning to be a little bit afraid this may be something contagious will be wrong. So what can and should the faculty member do?
The fine line of I'm concerned about you without trying to overly pry into what's going on. Could call them over after class and just say, I've noticed that you're coughing a lot. Are you have a cold? Are you sick? What's going on? Student may not even be aware of it, might be aware of it, might be something else. So I think just an initial approach to I've noticed this. If this is the, how can I help you? There is a health service. Now again, because we're very small and limited, we can listen to lungs, we can get a history, we can talk to them about maybe when they notice that they cough a lot, and maybe suggest that it might be an allergy kind of a thing or environmental thing. As far as any major workup goes as to what the cause might be, we would refer them to their physician or a physician. I think it just goes to the open communication, making it so that you are approachable to them or that they feel comfortable approaching you.
Maybe even in terms of providing permission to students, if they know that they're really sick and they may be contagious, letting them know, like in the beginning of class, they shouldn't be there, like in the beginning of the semester.
And we do not, this is another thing to let you guys know, we do not excuse students from class. We don't feel that's our place to do that. Students have tried. Well, I was sick last Tuesday and I missed a test. Can you write a note for me, for my teacher, to tell them that I was sick last Tuesday? No. And even if they look really sick when they're in there, can you write a note to excuse me from class? No, we won't do that. But if it's very obvious that they are danger to themselves and an infectious threat to other people, and it's really not appropriate for them to be there, we will write a note. And so you'll have that.
I had a student with a documented disability, and my first problem is you don't tell me what disability it is or how to react. And I sometimes wonder, wouldn't it be good to kind of get a little more explanation there? I just recognized, well, he's not going to be able to really contribute to this. What can I tell the student? And even more so, how am I going to grade this student eventually at the end of the semester?
Oh, that's a great question. It's a very complex question. There's actually barriers to that. First, I will address the legal issue. One, the university has designated us to be the caretaker of the medical record, which means it falls under FERPA, which nobody can know unless you need to know. So what do I classify? Need to know emergency situation where you feel that your life is threatened. I say this because, if I start giving out diagnosis to everybody, then you start coming out with your own bias. That's to protect you from developing your own bias against the person with the disability. Because what happens, you go to the court and they find out that through the disability service told you this person has autism, and you made a decision based on this medical determination that, hey, based on what I know about autism, this is what I'm going to do. This student can file a grievance against you and this university for discrimination. So I'm protecting you by withholding that information. However, now when you want to talk about, okay, you've got a student, I've got this basic minimum that this student needs to do to get graded on, and this student not meeting this basic minimum with or without accommodation, they must be held to that standard. So if your standard is they must participate in the group 30% of the time, and they don't, then they need to be graded on that. You cannot let the disability prevent you from grading them. There's lots of things we can do other than, let's just have him sit in the corner and hope he figures out he should withdraw. That shouldn't be the case. That's actually discrimination too. So the best course of action, as I said to you, is always start any disability issue with me, but only because I can legally protect you and come in and can take away just about all your documents, all your email records, everything, and investigate from start to finish. So the best course of action when you find yourself in that situation, to contact me, and we could talk about this. But I do not feel comfortable telling you the diagnosis. I can tell you the functional limitation. If the student cannot meet the minimum requirements of your class, with or without accommodation, there's no accommodation that can grant a student that will put them above the rest of the student, where you document that here's my expectation, here's the syllabus, 30% participation, you're not meeting that. You're documenting this, right? The next step, if you're still not meeting, talk to your department chair and have a meeting, because you're going through the conduct code. Now this is a conduct issue. This student is simply going to fail your class.
I have a student right now who is, has self-disclosed that he has some sort of autism where he struggles with social interaction. In fact, his group complained about him, and I brought him over to tell him, hey, your group complained about you, and I didn't bring him quite like that, but like, what can we do? And he goes, it's because of my disease, isn't it? So he was very self-aware. So what did I do? Well, I tried to design our next sort of group project so that there were much more clearly structured ways that they could interact. So I don't sort of think it's just throw them in and hope for the best. I think there are ways that we can teach our students with disabilities like autism in a way that works with as opposed to fights against their disability.
Because at this university, 60% of my students have a learning disability. 60%. So we serve 420 students. 60% of those have a learning disability. More often than not, if you have a learning disability, you cannot finish your exam within the time format. So it needs a little bit more time. And the standard for that is time and a half. it's very rare that I give double. Double, you have to have more than one thing going on. Triple, unlimited, is not okay, it's not reasonable at this point. So that's the best I can answer.
Not just with learning disabilities, sometimes with someone with a diagnosed anxiety disorder, sometimes they will need time and a half. And so it does vary, but they need to have the documentation in order for you to grant that. It'll say on your form, it'll say
Yeah.
this student needs time and a half.
Oh.
Yeah.
So student have appeared not form.
Yes, yes. 'Cause
The student gets the form and they're expected to talk to you before class, before they start the class and explain what they've been approved for.
Yeah.
So you should be notified by the student.